This is the SUI one-year overview reading for the year of 2025. It's currently June 18th, 2024, 9:28 p.m. Eastern Time. SUI at the time of this reading is 0.82259, or just over 82 cents USD. The shuffle video for the SUI one-year reading from 2025. The shuffle reading for the 2025 SUI reading was created on March 29th, 2024 at 4:16 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the video playing for you in the lower left corner. The overall theme and behavior for SUI in 2025, we have a mixed sideways S formation. So usually it's within a channel. We decline from a resistance all the way to support. This is on a one-year chart scale. Reverse, retrace all the way back to the original resistance, and then reverse and retrace all the way back to that support, creating a sideways S within a channel. Usually it's to a decline side, sometimes it's horizontal, usually to a decline. It's crossed with at least one big move starting out of a decline that takes us from the bottom of a range to the top of a range. And also there's a unicursal hexagram energy there in the crossing card, so we should see at least one sharp drop on a one-year chart scale, like multi-day sharp drop. The behavior on the high side, we have the Princess of Swords indicating that there's a lot of volatility near the high, and we have a resistance level on a multi-day scale or on a one-year chart scale that we decline from and then return to at some point in the not-too-distant future. Behavior around the lowest low for SUI in the year of 2025, we have an overbought crest that we sell off from through multiple support levels, taking us into the low. A lot of price change between the high and the low, and the high and the low are within close time proximity to each other as well. Now, I'm going to get into the week-by-week chart behavior, as well as timing the highs, lows, and the best trade opportunities. But before I do all that, I just want to make sure you're aware. The whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. We do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. You go to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, and 5% of the profits from every profitable trade utilizing this information should be donated forward to one of these charities, or pick a charity of your choosing, as long as you're paying 5% forward, and then 5% should be sent back to the channel through one of these links. If you're international, you can use Wise or you can use YouTube tips, and that leaves you at 90%. Make sure to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, you follow the rule of karma for the channel, the universe considers you an angel investor. It's going to send it back to you tenfold for following through. Blessings to all my angel investors. Let's get back into it. So if you're new to Tarot for Traders, it's important that you understand these cards going left to right across the screen are what we call timeline cards, right? There's two rows of them here and then another one here. So it's important to understand that not each card's energy, the timeline cards each represent about 2 weeks of time, but not each card's energy is going to line up perfectly with 2 weeks of time. Not in all cases. Most cases it will, but not all cases. So sometimes you have to give a plus or minus 2 weeks of wiggle room. When that happens, make sure to follow the sequence of events as outlined by the prediction, because that'll keep you on track. So we have an important low in January, with a decline that increases with momentum moving forward into the low in the early part of January, and it looks like again in the later part of January. Big move off of the January low out of, the January low forms when an overbought crest, a near overbought crest sells off through multiple supports into the low. So it looks like we decline, increasing with momentum, come to a low, rally pretty notably out of the low. The January high forms when we have a big move pushing the upper end of a range higher on a one-year chart scale, and then we get to a near overbought crest in the later part of January that we then sell off from through multiple support levels. So we go from a prominent peak to a prominent trough. There's also trade opportunity in the later part of January. I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. There's a big move out of the February low, a big move to the upside. I'm advised to be cautious in the early part of February. We have sideways rotation, big move higher, followed by sideways rotation, and some sort of tricky chart behavior that you could easily do the wrong thing there in early February. There's a prominent peak in February as well, in mid-February, and an important opportunity here on a one-year chart scale. When we look back at 2025, the February high will really stand out as a pretty significant opportunity. The February low forms when we have a failed attempt to break through key resistance, followed by a decline through key support. And the later part of February, we have a breakout on a one-year chart scale there. Probably some bumping through resistance as well, but definitely a breakout there. It turns into sideways rotation in early March that ends with a fast move higher about halfway through the month. That big move higher taking us to a peak. It's possible that we have another highest high here. It's possible. It's not as strong. You can see the highs and lows are within close time proximity. But I think there could be like a high side thus far here, because often this is a toppy card. But in either case, even if it's not, well, it might not be a high side, but there's a big move to the upside here, mid-month. A lot of price change surrounding the March low, which is likely in the third week of March. So that the big move into the high in mid-March turns over, and we have a decline into the later part of March into that trough. And then that decline ends with a fast sudden move higher, taking us to a peak on the cusp of March, April. In early April, we have a decline to and through support to meet another support. We rotate sideways along that support. Big move to the upside out of the April low. A lot of trade opportunity there. But it does look like the April low is probably towards the later part of the month. The April high forms when we have a pop and drop, and the later part of April is a decline offering trade opportunity. Probably continues into a trough. That decline probably continues into a trough there in May. And this is the strongest likely location of a sharp drop for the year here in April. There's a trough in the early part of May, and an intentional fake out or shake out, some sort of tricky chart behavior. A lot of volatility in the early part of May around an important resistance level on a one-year chart scale. There's a prominent peak and an intentional fake out or shake out, some sort of tricky chart behavior. The May low forms when we have a period of sideways rotation along key support. The May high forms when we have a crest that we sell off from down to and through support. We do a U-shaped reversal below that support, come back and reuse it as support. And the later part of May, we have an important resistance level on a multi-day scale that we've met many times before. It's highlighted here in the later part of May, and we failed to break through it many times before. Important resistance on a one-year chart scale, again highlighted around the cusp, with a trade opportunity around the cusp of May, June, and bearish price swings on a sharp decline in the early part of June. June low forms when we have a rally that turns over and we decline into the low. The June high, there's an important support level there, at least access support momentarily. It's important on a multi-year scale, that price level, and it looks like there's a peak and a trough within close time proximity to each other here in the early part of June. A notable reversal on a one-year chart scale in later June, and a lot of volatility there. And an important range on a one-year chart scale is highlighted. There might be a sharp drop there in late June, but I think it probably takes place more so in July, where we have this. Matter of fact, I'll get into that in just a moment. But before we go any further, let's take a look and see how we're doing for 2024. The 2024 reading was created on December 9th, 2023 at 5:33 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so we had lowest low in January, February, and you can see there's a lowest low in January, not quite a lowest low in February, but we do have a highest high on the cusp of February, March. You can see we have a highest high thus far there. And then we have another high in, it looks like maybe even two highs in April, but it looks like there's a high there at the end of March. So we have this high here in February, March. We have this high here on the cusp of March and April, and then that's followed by a lowest low here in May. Actually, that's in April, but then we go into a lowest low. This is the lowest low here, or very, very close to the lowest low, I should say, here in May. Pretty solid, aside from even this trough here in May, we have this big move to the upside out of it. Aside from, it looks like I missed this low here in June, but we do have this decline increasing with momentum moving forward in time. That's the late June card. We had a big move from the bottom of the range to the top of the range, starting out of a decline in the early part of June. The June high forms when we have a crest that we sell off from down to and through support. We do a U-shaped reversal, come back and reuse it as support. And the June low forms when we have a rally that's halted by a decline through key support level. That's all pretty solid. You would open up a long position here in the early part of January, which you could actually have closed in the early part of January, as it says here. So at the low, in the early part of January, close it up in the midst of that big move, this unexpected move to the upside. That would have been a solid trade. This pop and drop in February, it looks like it's right here, pop and drop in February. Offered trade opportunity, sharp drop there to the February low. And then there's that full card opportunity where you could have closed out of that short position, opened with the pop and drop. That would have been a really solid trade. You also could open up a long position there and close it in the end of March. It looks like that would have held up pretty solid as well. These are really solid trades, guys. This might have thrown me off a little bit. I would have been expecting another high to come through. It didn't come through. It only did about here. But even so, that rally in the later part of April offered opportunity to open up a short position with this fast sudden move higher and then this breakdown through the diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. So it would open up a short position there and close the short position in May at a lowest low. That would have held up pretty solid. You could have also at the May low, you could have opened up a long position and closed that long position in the later part of May, or you could have closed a long position at the high in June. These were all pretty solid trades, guys. So if you're interested in the paid version of 2025 reading,
It's already been ordered, so you go to our services, SUI post, scroll down to 1 year report, click here to order, and you click on choose when they're discounted because they've already been done. Roughly like a 48-hour turnaround. You basically just pick whichever one you want. There's some 2025s in there as well, and there'll be some 2026s in there pretty soon. As we release them, as people order customs or we put out 1 years, we add them to the list. You can order any of them here at a discounted price. Or if you're interested in a ticker that we're not covering or crypto that we're not covering, click on 1 year report, click here to order, click on custom report, specify the year, specify the ticker of crypto, add to cart. Great way to support the channel. Well undervalued or underpriced, I should say. And the final way that you can go about getting the 1 year report to one of our total access members is our top tier subscription. You go to SUI post, scroll down to total access, click here to order. It's get you access to the paid version of basically everything that we have, all of the 1 years that we have, and as they come, new ones come out, you get access to all of those, and you also get access to the monthly paid versions of the monthlies that regularly come out every month, as well as any one-offs that people order that we throw out there. All of that you get with a total access subscription. Best way to support the channel. Much appreciation. Everybody does that. Love you guys. Let's get back into it.
All right, so reversal with a possibly a sharp drop from June into July, but I think the sharp drop probably takes place in July rather than starting in June. We have this prominent move higher, full retracement in the early part of July. And it looks like off of a peak in the first or second week of July, we have a significant decline. This is probably one of the strongest declines of the year. Maybe not the strongest, but definitely a strong one. Universal decline. So we'll revisit a support level with some sideways rotation near the July high before we decline with a sharp drop that'll stand out in that period of sideways rotation. It'll be a full retracement, and then probably it might even be more than a full retracement as we revisit a support level at the July low that we recently met once before. It's important on a 1 year chart scale. There's a prominent peak and a prominent trough within close time proximity to each other in the later part of July, and a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels. An important price level highlight somewhere around the cusp of July, August, and important on a multi-year scale. Fast sudden move higher taking us to an August high towards the later part of August. The August low forms when we have a rally along a diagonal trend line that ends with a fast sudden move higher and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. And the later part of August, we have a prominent move higher, a move back down, a move higher through key resistance, followed by a move back down through that same price level shortly thereafter. And the abundance card often indicates like a new high or an important high of some kind. We'll look at that in more detail in the paid version. Sideways rotation in the early part of September with a sharp drop early in the month. Price swings near the September low. It may be that we're seeing a low here in August and then again here in September. Sometimes the Dominion card indicates seeing the low twice, but there's price swings there in September, and then out of the low, there should be an unexpected move to the upside in the later part of September. The September high forms in a period of volatility where there's a sharp drop that stands out in that period of volatility. Excuse me, in the early part of October, we have a rally increasing with momentum moving forward in time. The rally into the October high offers trade opportunity. I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Off of the October low, we have a big move reaching for distant resistance. And then the peace card in the later part of October indicates some sort of flattening out. That flattening out takes place right before we have a big move to a lot of price change in early November. There's an important support level highlighted on a 1 year chart scale and a lot of price change there. Some mixed behavior, but a lot of price change in early November around that ace of discs. Multiple failed attempts to break the key resistance around the November high. Equal amounts of bulls and bear inflow and outflow in the later part of November, and a decline through multiple support levels taking us into the November low, which is likely towards, hard to say where it is in November from the 1 year, hard to say, but there's another peak somewhere on the cusp of November, December. We have a prominent move higher in early December, followed by a full retracement. The December low forms when we have a period of sideways rotation and a fast move higher out of that. The December high forms when we have a decline to and through support, another support. We rotate sideways along that support through forbid, and then we break down through multiple supports. And then there's a sharp decline in the later part of December that will really stand out on a 1 year chart scale. There's also a prominent peak in the later part of December. And the sneak preview for 2026 is 3 pokes through the same trend line on a multi-year scale, followed by a sharp drop off of that third poke. Now, I'm going to get into the timing of the highs, the lows, and the best trade opportunities in just a moment with the paid version. That's SUI for 2025. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Please let me know what you think by hitting that like button. As always, make sure to follow that real karma. You know where to go, you know what to do. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version.